Good morning, AED. Thank you for inviting us for this workshop. This workshop has the airlines, the main airlines in Portugal as speakers. We have the TAP, the national airline, represented by Paulo Baracat, director in the procurement department. We have iFly. iFly is represented by the CFO and also in charge of the Department of Procurement. The SATA, Azores Airlines, is represented by Nuno Rangel. Nuno Rangel is the director of engineering of this airline that is also owned by the state. Paulo Castro is the representative of Euroatlantic, that is a big airline also in Portugal dedicated to ACMI, and is director of maintenance. And we have from the part of aerospace industry, Rui Marcelino. Rui Marcelino is the CEO of one of the best companies we have in terms of supplying airlines, namely in the interiors. He will be the first person, first speaker to have the floor in this workshop, saying what is his experience in this sector and this interaction, because between these two important systems, one the aerospace industry and the other the industry of airline industry. This workshop is in Portugal. AED is the representative of the aeronautical cluster in Portugal. And our objective is, first of all, to see the relations between airlines and aerospace industry in Portugal. Second, the national industry's ability to meet airline supply needs. And a third point, that is the capacity of AED, that is the representative of the aerospace industry and the aeronautical cluster, to be the liaison partner between supply and demand in this sector. We give the floor to the different speakers. We have only one speaker from the part of the aerospace industry, and we have the main airlines in Portugal. All these airlines are wide-body airlines that operate TAP and SATA in scheduled flights. The other airlines operate in ACMI, but all of them are big companies, and they usually use the international market for supplying not only in maintenance but in all the activity of the company. And we can discuss different issues in this relation. First of all, connections with local supply chains versus products and services supplying outside Portugal. Can compete national industry with products and services usually imported from abroad. Experience with national suppliers, good, bad. What is missing in national aerospace industry? Certifications, qualifications, industry experience. What could be done to develop the right skills and develop national integration across the various subdomains? Impact of the crisis. It is all the discussions and all workshops, all seminars normally now are focusing this important issue, what is the future of the sector and the impact of the crisis. Opportunities, reshoring, less dependence from outside, more economical cost models. Can new reality help to create new internal partnerships? The clustering approach. What do think the speakers about this approach? Can AED be, in fact, a liaison partner to the industry? Okay. I finish giving some examples of products and services that normally are part of supplying in this sector: catering, IT, passenger service, security, insurance, uniforms, ground equipment, training, professional services, marketing, in-flight entertainment, seats, MRO, energy, rotables, spare parts, consumables. Okay, let's start the discussion, and I give the floor to Rui Marcelino. Rui Marcelino is the CEO of Alma Design. Alma Design is a very known company in Portugal and abroad, a manufacturing company, pioneer in Portugal when certifying its research, development, and innovation system, the management system in industrial design in areas of transport and product, according to the Portuguese standard NP 4457. It is also very known abroad because it was the company that made the design and of the famous Alice. That is the commercial airliner with 100% of electrical power. Okay, let's start with Marcelino. Marcelino, you have the floor. Thank you very much to all.
Thank you. I should have. Can I share the screen?
Okay.
Okay. Let me see if it's working. Can you see it good, Eurico? Is the screen shared? Yeah, I think so.
Okay, go ahead. Huh?
Okay, so thank you, Eurico, Reed, for the introduction. As Alma Design CEO and board at AED, it is a great honor to be part of this panel. Well, just a short introduction. Alma Design is a design company. Over the last 20 years, we have been designing interiors and exteriors for buses, trains, boats, and many other different products, such as aircrafts, of course. And I would like to start with our biggest step in the aeronautic area, which was back in 2012 with the LIFE project, an R&D project where we gather our trusted partners from other transportation areas and Embraer to showcase what the local supply chain could do for aircraft interiors. Well, it was an important milestone for us, because for all of us, because besides the Crystal Cabin Award, which was the aircraft interiors Oscar, it was referred by OCDE as a case study for cooperation for sustainability. It was one of the first R&D collaboration projects with Embraer, much before they have factories. And more important, I think, it was the first time that most of the partners started participating on aircraft interiors projects. Well, since the live project, some of the project partners never stopped working in this area. This was what happened with us at Alma Design when we started working with TAP Portugal 1 year later to redefine the interior of the full fleet. The project began by the application of design thinking techniques, bringing together passengers, crew, maintenance, engineering people to define how to improve the passenger experience, the operation, and the full product service life cycle. The strategy was first applied to the A320s, working with Airbus and Recaro, but also with local partners such as Cor Azul, which was also previously involved in life, Cody, Carmen Guia Portugal, and TAP Maintenance and Engineering. They became also international suppliers as well. The result, as some of you probably know, was a sophisticated and yet global look, while maintaining the Portuguese heritage to reflect a trendy and yet timeless interior cabin. Besides the overall look, the design project involved layout definition, seat shape, carpet definition, curtains, lights, lighting systems, galleys, and also toilets. While the same Portuguese heritage with a Mediterranean luxury approach was applied to the executive class, this time with Thomson seats in Ireland, but collaborating again with local suppliers. Most of the integration of all the changes were performed locally by TAP Maintenance and Engineering. And of course, the first to fly A330neo had the same strategy, where we also worked in the full definition of the cabin interior with international and national suppliers. Our work extended from the full seat design in close cooperation with Recaro, TAP Maintenance and Engineering, with Cor Azul Leather to the definition of communication, catering supports, and all the service system, always when possible, supported and produced by local suppliers. Well, in the end, besides the look and feel, the full teamwork, we work together to have more seats, less weight, and natural materials, always when possible with local suppliers to every feature. Well, but not only airliners was the only area we worked with. Also, besides the work with TAP, we have worked with local partners for other OEMs, such as Airbus, with the Pássaro project, with developing a more ergonomic cockpit with 4 local suppliers, and in a consortium where there are 13 different Portuguese entities participating. Also, there is the Flexcraft project, which was presented early in this year, in future aircraft concepts for eco-sustainability, where we collaborated with local partners and Embraer to address electric hybrid propulsion, but also more efficient models of operation for people and goods. This work was done until the construction of a full interior and exterior prototype, 95% built with the local supply chain. Well, the visibility of live Flexcraft and the work with TAP led us to different international clients, and one of them, just referred by Rick Brito, was Aviation Alice electric aircraft. In this work, we were responsible for the full cabin interior and cockpit. And again, we gathered local partners such as SET, Cody, Cor Azul, and so many others to build the first aircraft prototype that was displayed in Le Bourget. And all the interior was built with mostly local partners. Finally, we also believe in the importance of cooperation projects to overcome the challenges of the COVID crisis and the need to bring trust back to the passengers. Well, in conclusion, we believe that design and cooperation networks can play an important role on supporting the local supply chain for internationalization by supporting the service design definition, by supporting the visualization of solutions as a decision support tool, bringing suppliers from similar areas with AED and other networks, growing up in the value supply chain through the project integration of products and services, and of course, with all the above, supporting the future internationalization of MRO, retrofit, and line fit services as an integrated offer. To conclude, we believe that design connects the dots and builds local bridges to address the challenges of future mobility, together with networks created with associations like AED. But this is only possible if we get out of our comfort zone and start preparing a long-term strategy in cooperation, like it happened in the LIFE project. To finalize, I will challenge all the members of the panel to find their launching projects for bigger involvement with the local supply chain. And of course, Alma Design and the AED Association will be very happy to help. Well, thank you so much for your attention. I will be very happy to answer to any question. And thank you again, Eurico, for the introduction and for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Okay, Rui Marcelino, thank you very much. Now, let's start with the other speakers from the airline industry. Can you say what kind of products or services TAP can think in the future to use our Portuguese aerospace industry?
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the question. Good morning, everyone. I work for TAP on the procurement department, focus on the maintenance, engineering, and all these, let's say, category. And my perspective from fostering the supplier market, and I felt, and by the way, I felt very proud to see the example of the cabin interiors design, which is fully aligned with our values, which means that we want to promote the best experience to our customers. And as a supply chain with a very competitive characteristics that we are in, and we are in a very peculiar point of the supply chain, because from the inbound supply chain perspective, we have a not so often competitive supplier market. We are very much, once we decide for the type of the aircraft, the engine that will be placed in the aircraft, and other things that we need to our operation, we are fully closer to our suppliers. So the challenge, and which we are working on the last at least 2 years, our focus on is to concatenate, aggregate local suppliers to suppliers that are regional or global, considering the fleet that we choose, the engine that we plan to use for the next 20 to 30 years. So we've been renewing the fleet, and based on that, we have new designs that align with the values of the company and the mission, which is to bring the best experience to our customers. So we have a new business class design. We have the red seats. I saw in the good example that was given. So based on that, we have to work on the inbound supply chain, which we have a very pressure on cost. And we have on the other side, following on the supply chain, we have a very competitive environment with the other airliners. So we have to deal with that, and as much as possible, foster and look for alternatives, not only as a supplier available in the global supplier market, but also focusing on local suppliers. I got a quick information from the last 2 years. 2020 is a very peculiar and completely different year. But when we look to 2018 and 2019, the strategy that we've been working on in terms of innovation and fostering local suppliers, we see a historic relationship with suppliers that means that we see that 40% of our suppliers, considering our whole suppliers for the organization, 40% responds for 45% of our spend. So we see that we can not only have a strong presence for local suppliers, considering that sometimes we have restriction, as I said, technical restriction, but we are successfully having strong participation from local suppliers and even stronger participation when we talk about the market share that they represent in our spend, in everything we spend with suppliers. So I think it's a journey, and we have lots of alternatives and opportunities to discuss for the future. I think that 2020 brings an additional challenge because it increased the uncertainty to what will come next. But this also brings an opportunity to newcomers to this environment. So everyone that steps forward and bring alternatives that will be more cost effective, more efficient, that allows even better control and provide less usage. So we've been talking due to the lower and downward of the market, due to the demand which has decreased very much in the last month. All the alternatives that are on the table currently are working on what can we avoid spending or better control to avoid the spend. So it's not only a relationship from the commercial perspective, but also to use less, to use better, use less resource and better the resources that we have internally and externally. So our perspective is to continue building on relationship with local suppliers, and of course compliant with our secure safe requirements and technical requirements and so on.
Okay, thank you very much. Now let's give the floor to iFly. Sergio Barro, please tell us your experience. We know that iFly created extra cargo capacity by temporarily removing economy seats of some of its aircraft. You are famous now with your 380, very known, the Save the Coral Reefs, and you have a very nice fleet, almost of them wide body. What do you think about this relation with the domestic industry? Are they prepared? And AED, I think AED could be a good partner for you. TAP is a member, but I don't know if Fly has not yet joined this association. Okay, what do you think about this relation with the Portuguese aerospace industry for your company?
Thank you very much for the introduction, and good morning, everybody. First of all, I think it's better to give a very brief description of what is iFly. So basically, we are a wet lessor, a wet lease operator. We have a fleet of around 20 aircraft. We have only Airbus fleet. We have all kinds. So since the very tiny ones, A319s, to the very big one, A380, as Enrico well said. We have close to 1,000 workers, and we are for the first time developing our MRO and we expect to have the first C check to be done on next spring 2021, which was basically a challenge for us, precisely on the worst year ever on the airline business, where everything is upside down, and creating a big investment of close to 10 million euros in the first phase, and growing to 30 million euros to have a proper MRO. So basically, we are facing a lot of challenges, as you may imagine. Of course, we have changed a lot with the crisis of COVID. We have discovered that cargo was also a market niche that we could explore, and by taking out the seats, so it's not a simple thing to do. Of course, have to be everything certified, is EASA certified, and we have proper STCs for that. But we have discovered a good market niche where we, let's say, we are playing right now an important role by bringing medical supplies back and forth from China, from Turkey to Canada, to all kind of places in the world. Let me also address to Remerslin. So my congratulations for your presentation. So it's very well made, and I was amazed by the modern image that you have addressed, and the capacity that you have shown for the design, and for the capacity to, let's say, to gather all the resources to bring up a final result, as we have seen on the presentation. I'm sure, Rui, we will speak pretty soon, because we have 1,000 projects for our MRO. So I'm sure we'll be in touch pretty soon. Yes, Eric, we are not yet AED member, but I'm sure we'll be a member soon. Let's say the world of Firefly changed a lot with the COVID and early this year. First of all, because of the crisis, so we have to change our core business, which was basically the wet leasing for passengers, for transporting passengers. Now we have, let's say, half of the company transporting passengers, half of the company transporting cargo. And we have discovered that, of course, we can play an important role by innovating, also loading the aircraft. On the first operations, we have to admit that we were, let's say, a bit slow, but now we are pretty fast of loading, let's say, a lot of cargo into an Airbus A340. And now we got into a normal routine. So I think after
And also in maintenance, we realized that you have a big facility in Beja, and
yes,
you develop.
we have built a big hangar, so it's 10,000 square meters, so it's enough to accommodate a big wide body or two narrow body aircraft. And we plan to have our own capacity for maintenance. So basically, as I said, we are planning to have the first C check of a wide body spring 2021, which is quite an achievement, taking in consideration that we have ended the construction of the, let's say, the space of the premises this summer. So it's difficult to get the technicians. It's difficult to have all the engineers working there, tools, certifications. But we are running against time, and we have our target to have in March our first A340 getting into the hangar to do a C check. Let's see if we are able to do that. But historically, the supply chain of Firefly was based on the traditional international market. But with this movement and bringing the base of our aircraft, which was, let's say, spread all over Europe, now we are concentrating in Beja all the parking facilities in our base. And now we have another challenge, which basically is to get closer all the providers that we have around us, because we save on costs, we save on transportation, we save on the logistics. But sometimes we are facing, that's one of the challenges that I saw on your, let's say, on your points that you have said in the beginning, is the capacity and the resources of the providers. Usually some of the providers in Portugal are rather small in terms of scale. Most of them, they don't have volume for what we need. Some of them, they don't have also cash and financial capacity to face, let's say, a big order or a big purchase order, because sometimes they require a full payment in advance, which basically on this business, it's not, let's say, it's difficult to start a partnership like that. And most of the times, they are brokers, or basically they assembly parts that they are purchasing elsewhere. But so this is not the way. I think Rui Marcelino is leading, let's say, this way, and showing the path for all the providers, because we have the capacity, we have the flexibility, we have the knowledge. Sometimes the resources are not here, but I think we have to be smarter than that, and we have to get partnerships between supplier and client to get this done. I think that's a challenge, precisely on the worst year ever. But I think we can make it. And in fact, with this MRO in Portugal, we need to move to this
This is a good example that we must ask AED solutions, namely because we have two small companies. Probably they could have joint ventures with other companies abroad, and part of the add value could be done in Portugal. But as you said, normally our airlines have traditionally supply abroad, not in Portugal. But we must fight with this situation, and AED probably is a good solution to make us think about solutions, and namely joint ventures and other type of solutions.
Yeah,
Okay.
but just one point. I think it's
Yeah.
also on our part, on the let's say on the purchasers, we have to think also upside down. So basically, instead of buying parts in Miami and taking in consideration transportation and logistic costs, sometimes if you look at the local partner that is 10 kilometers away from you, but they don't have the financial capacity or the volume, sometimes I prefer to advance money to the local provider, and at the end of the day, it will be cheaper than buying the parts to the traditional source in Miami. So this is an example, and it's, let's say, it's part on us to make the calculations upside down to see if we can do it, and by doing this, supporting the local industry. And it's not because it's local, because it's closer, it's easier, and at the end of the day, it might be even cheaper. So we have to think a little bit different and out of the box.
Yeah, you're right. Another problem is the qualification of people. And as you remember, when you were looking for technicians with difficulty, now it's different, but in the future, certainly the crisis will end in 2000 and I don't know, probably 2 years later. Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, now please, Paulo Castro, Euro Atlantic Airways. Please tell us your experience. Your company is very known. Is also a ACMI company. With wide body fleet. What do you think about this relation with our domestic industry? You have the floor, Paulo Castro.
Thank you, Rico, and well, good morning, everybody. Good morning to my colleagues on the panel. Special good morning to Rui Marcelino. We know each other for many years, and regarding this subject of keeping the pace and keeping pushing the internal industry to match the operator requirements, I think he's a believer, never give up, and that's what we saw today was a result of his will to succeed this kind of approach. Euro-Atlantic is also a wet lease ACMI operator. We operate only Boeing fleet. I operate Airbus, we operate Boeing. Yeah. Also from the 737 to the 777, so from small one to big ones. And of course, due to the nature of our fleet, it's even more difficult to find suppliers, sometimes in Europe, and even less in Portugal. But I think we need to split this supply chain question and the solution in two different parts. One of them we cannot go around, which is the spare parts, the technical parts that, of course, you have the industry suppliers all over the world. We operate all over the world, so don't make sense most of the times to have someone to invest in a local stock here if we are with our aircrafts in China or in the Middle East or in South America. So on that part, I believe that the standard solution will keep running. On the other side, we have the projects, big projects, renewing fleets, renewing the interior of the aircraft, which is the customer experience that's make all the difference. So if you want to get positive feedbacks, so if we want to get more business from our customers, which sell the tickets for their customers, they need to receive positive feedbacks of our aircraft. So we need to invest on renewing the fleet. And that on that part of the supply chain, I believe Portugal industry is more than capable to handle it. The problem and what I'm facing in the past and we still see with some exceptions is that the Portuguese industry is not aligned each other with the airlines to make these succeed. So of course AED here play, I think, a major role to build these bridges and to make possible, because for the airline like Highfly, TAP, SATA, what we need and what we look for, what we aim for, it's more than near a turnkey solution. So of course there are things that Portuguese industry may not have today the capacity to manufacture, to develop, but with the right partnership, with the right joint venture, we are more than capable intellectually, in terms of experience, know-how. We have the people in Portugal, we have the Portuguese people with huge know-how on this field, most of them and some of them already working in external companies that then became our suppliers from UK, from France, from Germany. But every time you go to one of these suppliers, you will find one or two or four Portuguese over there. So if we develop a solid strategy in Portugal, of course, need to be with interconnected between the airlines that need also to think a little bit different on that field and the industry. We can also attract those people to come to Portugal. We are attracting in several areas of airline industry a lot of know-how, even from people from other countries that love to work in Portugal. They love Portugal. I think the best thing of our country is that it's a nice country to work. It's a nice country to live with a very good quality of life. So it will not be very difficult to attract here the know-how that we need, even if it is not Portuguese, but we build the value here. So my opinion is that we have still a long way to develop, but we already have some successful examples that can help us believe that it's possible. So I believe it's possible, and it's part of our side on the airlines. Every time that we have some, let's say, and starting from that point, those kind of big projects like TAP had, and that with Alma Design and all the partners made that successful approach, we can replicate that for in other fields, not even on the interiors. Even there are many other fields where the Portuguese industry have the technical capacity. Certifications we can get. It's with more or less difficulty we can obtain if we have the will and if the business case makes sense for everybody, right? So we need to be competitive, we need to be good quality, and on the end, the overall project must be on a good experience for all parties. On the end, for the passengers, that's what is most important, is to have the passengers with a good experience, so they can return and buy more tickets for that aircraft, for that fleet, for that operator. That's it.
Okay, Paulo. Thank you very much. We know also that your company has a good relation with the Portuguese-speaking countries, and probably these Portuguese-speaking countries in the future can also join our supply chain in terms of this aerospace industry. Now, Nuno Rangel from SATA. SATA Aerospace is a very known company, shuttle company, and can you tell us your opinion about this subject that we are discussing? You have the floor, Nuno Rangel.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, my name is Nuno Rangel. I'm responsible for the maintenance here in SATA Aerospace. We basically operate original fleets composed by 4 Dash Q400s and 2 Dash Q200s to cover up our islands. And we basically we have the majority of the capability here as an internal MRO. So we basically do C checks, A checks on those fleets. We also have a limited shop facility, which we do batteries, wheels, oxygen, things like that. In the past, we tried to implement or to invest in creating more capability on pneumatics, simple components, which in order to reduce costs of maintenance. And there's always good opportunities to develop, and there's a need to study the market in which you can, if it's sustainable, you can produce that capability for your own good, and then use the market's other operators which can use our services in a lower cost. But of course, this was not easy for us because of the moment now with this pandemic situation. So we basically are maintaining the simple services at the moment. Of course, supply chain is always a big issue for us. As you may know, we are in the middle of the Atlantic, very far away from the mainland and also from the States, from Americas. So supply chain is very, very important for us. We also had to invest a huge amount of money in maintaining stock locally here because, as you know, in the AOG, it takes almost 2 days to get here, the part from the Americas or in Europe. That's why you had to invest a lot. We know that there's some companies, pool companies that provide this type of services, but of course it's always very far away, so we cannot have here a pool on site. That's why we had to invest this money in the local stores. Of course, if there's and also since we are only operating in Portugal, operating with the Dash 8 aircrafts, it will be interesting probably in the future if we change to ATRs and TAP has ATRs, probably we can arrange an agreement to have in a pool, which would reduce the costs of both companies. So I think that will be an important thing to happen.
And your experience with the Portuguese suppliers, good, bad? What do you think about?
Yeah, our majority of suppliers are foreign, not Portuguese. We have the majority is in Canada and the States, a few of them in Europe, but in Portugal, very, very, very little.
Yeah. SATA is a member of AED.
Yes.
I think that probably solutions for this capacity of our industry can be discussed through AED, because AED has a large view about the market, the possibilities, namely of some some joint venture or something like that.
Sure.
Okay, let's start another round, and I begin with Rui Marcelino. After the interventions of the airlines representatives, what is your reaction?
Well, thank you, Rick, again. I have to put glasses again because I took some notes and I cannot read them. So first of all, thank you so much for your kind words to all of you, Sergio, Paulo, and thank you for supporting also. I would only point out 2 or 3 things that I think were very interesting in mentioning. One, of course, is our common proud about what we have done with TAP, Paulo. That was, I think, for TAP maintenance and engineering, was a great endeavor. And what I think would be very interesting would be to scale and, let's say, also try to do this type of work in with other companies in other countries. I believe Portugal has the skills and the people to do it, not only for the internal market, but also for the exterior. And TAP has this very important role. This happens in all industry. If you don't have the chance to do a project like that with your local partners and local airliners, nobody will ever trust you out of your country, because you knock on another country's door and they say, okay, you have this expertise. What have you done before at home? And you say, well, we don't have that experience. They will never trust you. So giving the experience for the companies and the suppliers to start with internal projects, this is very important for the supply chain. It will never happen if you don't do it. For Sergio Bagorro, you talked about a very important thing, which is the learning curve for the local supply chain is not only technical, is not only also certification, but also financial and organizational. And if we don't prepare that in advance, of course, we will always be playing with the same usual suspects, meaning we never give the chance for a local supply chain to get engaged. So this is a work, as Ulrich has said, that we can start doing in advance and taking this time of crisis to start working to what's going to happen in the next 2-3 years, and not just hiding to wait for the storm to pass. Paulo Castro, I really appreciate you talking about customer experience, because sometimes what we forget in these areas is that who's paying the ticket in the end is the customer. And engineers, I'm an engineer, I have an engineer background, I can say this. Engineers sometimes forget that, well, in the end, who's paying the ticket is the customer, whether it's transporting goods or whether it's traveling from A to B. So this is a focus that we can put, which I think we can help. And again, for Nuno Rangel, I know SATA is passing through a situation, but again, I think it's a good time also to make a reflection of how can we, Portuguese national supply chain, be part of the solution. And as I say, times of crisis are also time for organization. I believe that with all of you, namely with SATA, that is already an AED partner, we can define a strategy with AED partners, and not only AED partners. AED has partnership with other clusters of automotive cluster in Portugal and so on, and bring or prepare new suppliers to provide better solutions, like Sergio was saying, that probably will, in a long-term or a medium-term period, be cheaper and more efficient than working or being dependent of a single external supplier, as it happened frequently. So let me just challenge and close saying, please use AED, and I have a role there as Vice President for the aeronautic area. Please use us to have this, let's say, cooperation network working for you. And of course, use the design service to make this being seen by the others and by the rest of the world. That's our purpose here.
Okay, thank you very much. And I have now the opportunity of speaking a little about my role now in the industry. I am now after 40 years in the airline industry. Now I am the coordinator of a master of air transport operations in ISEC Lisboa. ISEC Lisboa was the first higher education institute with this management, aeronautical management for students. And with AED, we are thinking about the liaison between academy, industry, and training. The strategy of Europe for aviation, as you know, is a strategy that is a challenge with research, development, and research and development needs people prepared in a high standard of education. And we must, with AED, because AED, as the Vice President said, we invite you to join this big association that in present time, the majority of members are members of aerospace industry, but there is the other side of the airline industry that is not very well represented of, even is represented, but not properly working in the liaison between aerospace industry and airline industry. And if we make the challenge to head also the academy, we can have a triangle through which we can make the research, the development, to make all together for the future of aviation that with the crisis, certainly next year, or if not next year, 2 years, will be the same situation that we had before. Then, thank you very much to all of members of this workshop. Thank you very much to AED. And let's go to our challenge of developing our companies and our activities. Good morning to everybody. I give the floor to AED to close the session.
Thank you very much, Eurico Brito. I think it was an excellent